First off, I'm going to start with this tool. This is called Section View. When I click it, it allows me to basically cut my part in half. Okay? If I need to, I can actually switch which plane it is by going right here or to these ones, and I'm going to pick the right plane because that's actually where I'm going to start a surface. And if I accept it, it will stay in this configuration for a little bit. This allows me to draw on the inside of the mug to create some internal features. I'm also then going to go onto the right plane, start a sketch there, and go normal to it. I'm going to click normal to again to look at the other side. So this is the side I want to look at. What I'm going to create is I'm going to create a sloped profile. So from my line tool, I'm going to try to get on this corner. So I'm going to get on this endpoint here, and I'm going to draw straight down. I'm going to then draw up to this other endpoint, and I'm then going to draw all the way across. Okay. I'm then going to smart dimension this the depth that I want this to come down. Making sure this is vertical and that I've smart dimensioned that depth. I may have to look at smart dimensioning other things. Okay. To getting everything fully defined. Here's a little side note. Don't use this in a lazy kind of way, but if there's ever a time where you're like, this should be fully defined, but it isn't, there is a way to have the software help you. If you go under Display Delete Relations and go down to the bottom and have it say Fully Defined Sketch. This does not work all the time, okay? But right now, relations and dimensions are both checked. If I hit Calculate, it'll figure out what it needs to add. What it needed was this dimension down here. So like I said, this is a good way to fill in gaps, not to try to just throw yours on there and hit fully define. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that because that did what I needed it to do. Oh, it also added another relation over here that I missed. Okay, this is the profile that I want. I'm going to go ahead and exit the sketch. I'm going to go back to an isometric view. And I'm also going to turn off the section view. As you can see, my drawing is in the middle of the mug. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that sketch and I'm going to do an extrude cut. Instead of just cutting blindly to one direction, I'm going to tell it to go up to surface. And I'm going to pick the round surface. It's going to cut out this area of the mug, leaving me with a sloped surface, but it's only halfway done. I need to rotate to the other side, click on this surface, start a new sketch, immediately click Convert Entities, exit the sketch, and then with my new sketch, repeat the extrude cut going in the other direction. Up to surface, pick that. Now using both of those cuts, I now have an angled portion to my lid. I should now be able to go to the underside using shell. I'm going to go ahead and do an 1/8 inch thickness, which is 0.125 inside. And that should shell that all out unless it has errors, which it did. So I can't actually use a shell in that time frame. So I'm going to do something different. I'm going to start a sketch on this surface. I'm going to offset my entities, my 1/8 of an inch, to the inside, and I am going to extrude cut upwards. Now, what I want to do is I want to extrude cut it so that everything is an 1/8 of an inch thick. I even want this to be an 1/8 of an inch thick piece. So instead of extruding it blindly, I'm going to extrude it offset from surface. First thing I have to do is pick the surface, which I'm going to pick this upper angled surface. As you can see from the side, it is extruding up and matching my angle. I'm then going to make sure it extrudes to the distance that I want, which is the 0.125. I'm going to accept that. Now, my mug goes in and it goes up to that surface. I can now look at this one in terms of laying out a slide cut. Many people saw that I made a slide cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start a sketch on this surface, and I'm going to go normal to it. I'm going to actually bend this a little bit so I can see. It looks like my top, when I go normal to it, this is the deep part of the cut, this is the shallow part of the cut. That is important. I'm going to take a center rectangle, and I'm going to make a box bigger than the mug. I'm going to go ahead and smart dimension it in this direction at 3/4 of an inch. You can use whatever size you need. I'm also going to click on the rim and hit Convert Entities. I need that as well. Then I'm going to use Trim. Trim to closest. Trim that portion out, this portion out, as well as these portions here. At the back end, it does not appear that my arc came all the way around. So I'm going to hit Convert Entities, convert this portion of the arc, and use Trim Entities to trim away this piece, and the extra parts here. After smart dimensioning both sides, which should be equal, I now have all of my lines fully defined. Your sketch may still show underdefined. All I would need to do to make it fully defined is actually delete these two lines. And then leave it. And we should be good to go. Now, if I extruded this, and I'm going to on purpose look at it from a side, you can see this is angled. If I extruded it, it would extrude in this direction. It would extrude 90 degrees from where it is. I can't, in this case, actually do an extrude. What I need to do is a sweep cut. So I am going to go back to my right plane, and I am going to start a sketch. I am going to try to find that center point that's already there, and I'm going to draw a vertical line down. And I'm going to make this line whatever distance I'm going to cut in a downward direction. I'm going to do 0.1 because I actually made a mistake and made my lid too thin for this cut. I can go back and fix that later, but I'm just going to show you how this would end up. I'm going to exit that sketch. I am going to go back to Features, do a swept cut, the path being sketch 8, the profile for me being sketch 7. And if I look at it straight from the side, you'll notice that it follows that downward direction. It does not cut perpendicular to itself. It follows that vertical up and down as it cuts, which is how I can make that recessed cut right there. Obviously, I had a little issue with my arc over here that I would fix, so that that end looks like this one, which